Number 1.
Henschelt was last seen leaving work during the evening hours of February 13, 1988 in Daytona Beach, Florida. She was employed part-time at the Fisherman's Wharf restaurant at the time of her disappearance and also sold real estate in Ormond Beach, Florida. Henschelt apparently arrived home safely as she called someone from her apartment that evening. That telephone call was the last time she was heard from. She failed to report for work the following morning, February 14, and was reported missing by her boss. Henschelt's apartment was checked by investigators that day, and evidence of a violent struggle was apparent inside her home. A lamp had been knocked over and sheets and pillows were missing. Blood was found on Henschelt's bedspread, and 2 teeth were also located beside her bed. Her 2 cherished cats were left behind at her residence, and her 1981 Chevrolet Chevette was found parked at Ellsworth and Bethune Streets, less than a mile from her apartment. She has never been seen again. Henschelt's parents died when she was young and she was raised by her grandmother. Her boyfriend had an alibi for the time she vanished and isn't considered a suspect. Foul play is suspected in her disappearance due to the circumstances involved.
Number 2.
Hope was last seen departing the now-defunct Redfish Seafood and Steakhouse in Hernando Beach, Florida on March 31, 1982. He was carrying a plastic container of mustard greens at the time. Hope's uncle, who dined with him that evening, says he acted normally during the meal and planned to visit his girlfriend's residence afterwards. He has never been heard from again. On April 6, 1982, Hope's white pickup truck was found abandoned at his real estate office in Hernando Beach, where Hope was employed as a broker. The truck, which contained about $2,000 worth of Hope's belongings, was locked, which is uncharacteristic of his behavior. He was reported missing after the truck was located. 8 months later, someone clearing an overgrown area about 100 yards from Hope's workplace found a pair of shoes and neatly folded clothing, including a beige shirt. Hope's family believes the clothes were his, but they weren't the ones he was wearing the night of his disappearance. Hope was a prominent figure in the area, a real estate business leader who had held one appointed political position and also sought election. He resigned from his post as chairman of the Hernando Port Authority 2 months prior to his disappearance. Hope also had a reputation as a womanizer, and his wife, who divorced him shortly before his disappearance, believed he'd been killed by a jealous husband or boyfriend of someone he'd been dating. He had remained friendly with his ex-wife after the divorce and was close to their children, and she doesn't believe he would have ever willingly abandoned the family. There are many rumors and theories about his case. Some believe he was involved in the local drug trade, though there's no actual evidence of this, and they think he was either killed by drug dealers or placed in the federal witness protection program. Others speculate he left of his own accord and possibly left the country. Hope resided in Brooksville, Florida in 1982. There has been no activity on his social security number since his disappearance. He was declared legally dead in 1992. His loved ones believe he met with foul play.
Number 3.
Hosky was last seen at the beach behind Days Inn in Pensacola Beach, Florida at 12:30 a.m. on April 12, 2008. He and his friends had arrived in Pensacola Beach at 6 p.m. the previous day. They checked into the hotel and drank beer all evening. Late that evening, Hosky and his friends decided to go swimming. One of his friends said he left after an hour and last saw Hosky sitting in a lounge chair on the beach. His friend was extremely intoxicated, and Hosky was also drunk, but less so. His friend returned 2 hours later and found Hosky's wallet, shoes and most of his clothes on the beach, but no sign of Hosky himself. He has never been heard from again. He wasn't reported missing until 3:30 p.m. on April 13. An extensive search of the ocean turned up no sign of him. Hosky was a student at Pensacola's Naval Air Technical Training Center at the time of his disappearance. He'd been there since January and was in training to become an aviation support equipment technician. He is originally from Fort Defiance, Arizona, and graduated from Window Rock High School, a Navajo school, in 2004. He is presumed to have drowned, but his body has never been recovered.
Number 4.
Hoyt was last seen in Highland Beach, Florida sometime during December 2005. She called her brother in Portland, Oregon to tell him she was mailing him a Christmas present. She asked him to call her when it arrived. When Hoyt's brother tried to call her, he got a message back from her boyfriend, who said he'd ordered her out of his house and taken her phone, which he was paying for. He said he thought Hoyt had gone to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She didn't have a car, credit cards or very much money at the time of her disappearance. Hoyt's family, who lived in Kansas, Missouri and Oregon at the time of her disappearance, contacted the police in Florida after waiting a few weeks without hearing from her. The police refused to take a missing persons report at the time, saying there was no evidence Hoyt was in danger. Nearly 18 months passed before they agreed to list Hoyt as a missing person. Hoyt is described as a very sensitive, artistic individual. Her interests include scuba diving, music and art, particularly photography. Her father died when she was 4 years old, and her family moved at least 19 times during her childhood. Her relationship with her boyfriend, who was about 20 years older than her, was troubled, and she'd told her family she planned to leave him. Little evidence is available as to her fate, but since she was last seen, her social security number has not been used. Some accounts give January 1, 2006, as the date Hoyt went missing.
Number 5.
Wendy's mother and stepfather were out of town when she disappeared from her hometown of Naples, Florida on November 15, 1998. One of her stepfather's co-workers was staying at the house to watch her and her 16-year-old sister, and the girls had a female friend spending the night as well. Wendy got a phone call at 11 p.m. on November 14. She sneaked out her bedroom window a short time afterwards to attend a party. She tried to convince her sister and their friend to join her, but they said no. She took her stepfather's pager with her and asked her sister to page her if there was any trouble. She promised that, if she got a page, she would either go home or call her sister within 10 minutes. She didn't take any clothes, makeup or other personal belongings, and she left a candle lit in the window. She never returned home and has never been heard from again. Authorities determined Wendy went to the party with a 20-year-old friend, Ronald DePeppo, whom she'd met a month earlier. DePeppo had called Wendy's house shortly after he met her and told her stepfather he was 18. Her stepfather told him Wendy was only 14 and to leave her alone and never call the house again. A photo of DePeppo is posted with this case summary. He didn't have a serious criminal record but did have known a history of getting in relationships with underage girls. He and Wendy left the party together between 2 o'clock and 2:30 a.m., driving his blue 1991 Mazda. When questioned by police, he said Wendy got a page and they stopped at a payphone at the corner of Airport Road and Davis Boulevard so she could make a call. He said afterward, she asked him to take her home because she planned to meet someone named Jeff. He said the last time he saw her was when he dropped her off at her house at about 2:45 a.m. DePeppo says he spent the rest of the night with a friend, Johnny Walker, but Walker said DePeppo left at 11 p.m. on November 15 and didn't return until 9 a.m. the next morning. DePeppo's girlfriend also stated he had asked her to lie and say he had been with her on the night Wendy disappeared. On December 1, DePeppo's car was destroyed in a fire. Authorities concluded the blaze was an accident caused by a dropped cigarette. This was DePeppo's explanation and a witness vouched for it. Curiously, this witness was Walker. DePeppo turned the charred vehicle over to authorities for forensic processing, but the analysis didn't turn up any evidence. DePeppo cooperated with authorities during the beginning of their investigation into Wendy's case, but he has since hired an attorney and refuses to answer further questions or take a polygraph. Wendy's immediate family have all passed polygraphs and been ruled out as suspects. DePeppo was never identified as a suspect in Wendy's disappearance, although investigators said they were looking at several persons of interest. Walker, who is now a registered sex offender, is also considered a person of interest. In 1998 he told police he did not know Wendy and had never met her, but 20 years later in a media interview, he said he knew Wendy and that she and DePeppo were dating. This contradicted DePeppo's statement that prior to the night of her disappearance, he and Wendy had never gone out together. Wendy was born in Toronto in Ontario, Canada. She and her family moved to Naples when she was in middle school. She was a freshman at Naples High School in 1998, an honor student who was enrolled in advanced classes. She was also a member of the local softball team. Records show she hasn't applied for a driver's license or gotten a job since she went missing. She had run away once before, but only for about a day, and although authorities initially thought she'd left of her own accord when she disappeared in 1998, they now believe she could be deceased. On her 21st birthday, in 2005, her family had a memorial service for her in a Toronto church and placed a memorial marker in the city's Queen of Heaven Cemetery. Wendy's mother died of cancer 2013, and Wendy was listed as a survivor in her obituary. Her sister and stepfather are still alive and hope she will be found. Her case remains unsolved.
Number 6.
Tins Hewells was last seen in Tampa, Florida on October 27, 1984. Her family last saw her when she left her home to go to the laundromat. At some point during the evening, Tins went to a female friend's residence, and then they both went to the Char Pal Lounge in the 3700 block of East Bush Avenue. They went there to get drinks. Tins was seen talking to a man at the bar while she was there. The man, Larry Moore, stated that he owned a sign-making and cleaning job and asked Tins if she would like to work for him. She agreed to start work on October 29, 2 days after her disappearance. Eventually, Tins's friend left her at the bar with Moore. The next day, authorities found Moore and another man asleep in their vehicle. They were arrested for possession of marijuana and for carrying a concealed weapon. Tins was not with them, and she wasn't reported missing by the time the men were arrested. Moore was questioned by authorities when she was reported missing, but he said he did not know her current whereabouts. It's unknown if Moore was ever viewed as a suspect in her disappearance. Tins's vehicle was located in the parking lot of the Char Pal Lounge the morning after her disappearance. Inside was clean and folded laundry, but her keys were missing. 2 weeks after her disappearance, her purse was found in the men's bathroom at the Busch Gardens Zoo campground, with her identification and other effects inside. Authorities suspect that foul play was involved in her case. They initially suspected that she was abducted and killed by serial killer Bobby Joe Long. Long admitted to killing 10 females in the Tampa area in Florida in 1984. He reportedly committed the crimes during an 8-month span. He denied being involved in Huell's disappearance. He was executed on May 23, 2019. He was never charged in connection to the case. In April of 1992, Lucinda's family received a phone call from a woman who claimed that she was Tins and had run away to Arkansas to escape the responsibilities of being a wife and young mother. She stated that she was using the alias Amanda. The family invited the woman to move back in and live with them again. The woman did physically resemble Tins and seemed to know a lot about her family. She lived with them until September of 1992 when blood tests confirmed she was an Arkansas woman named Amanda Dennis. She had run away from home when she was a teenager. It's possible that Amanda met Tins after her disappearance based on the amount of details she knew about the woman. Tins's disappearance remains unsolved, and the circumstances of her disappearance are unclear. Authorities suspect that foul play was likely involved in her case.
Number 7.
Huff was last seen at his Lakeland, Florida home at 8 a.m. on November 25, 2004. He is believed to have left the house to go on a hunting trip. His wife came home from work and found Huff gone and a package of chicken spoiled in the sink. She became worried when he wasn't home by 6 p.m. He did not leave a note behind. He usually did this only when he was not planning to be gone a long time. Huff's wife reported him missing at 1 a.m. on November 26. The day after his disappearance, Huff's white 1994 Mazda pickup truck, sometimes reported to be a Nissan, was found on Tannock Grade near Main Grade, 6 miles inside the 50,000-acre Green Swamp Wildlife Management Area, which is his favorite hunting spot and has very rough, swampy terrain. There was no sign of Huff at the scene, but his sneakers were inside the truck. The weather the night of his disappearance was very cold, and he could have developed hypothermia if he was without shelter. Huff is a retired truck driver and has also worked part-time as a security guard. He was probably carrying a 22-gauge rifle when he disappeared. An extensive search of the Green Swamp area turned up no sign of him. His loved ones believe he is deceased and possibly met with foul play. They theorized he may have been robbed for his watch, his ring or his gun, which is worth an estimated $500. There is no evidence to support any theory, however, and Huff's case remains unsolved.